This is Josh from Wohler Equipment. Today we're inside the cab of a Deutz Fahr 5110 Premium tractor. I'm going to go over what all the levers and features of those levers do in this video. I'll try and make some bookmarks so you can skip around to the parts that pertain to you. We'll start by looking at the dash here. Go to start the tractor. You can see it does a check. And the glow plug light was short enough it's not even running here. In order to start the tractor, we need to have our clutch down, our brakes pressed, and our gear selector in neutral, and our forward reverse shuttle in neutral as well. Now we're ready to start the tractor. Once our tractor's running, I always verify we're in neutral again, even though it wouldn't have started. But I do that, release my clutch, release my brakes. Our parking brake is to the left of the seat. It is an orange handle. You pull up to engage the brake, pull up slightly, press the top button, and down to release. We'll leave the parking brake engaged for these steps. Looking at the dash, you can see we have a parking light indicator here. We have our four-wheel drive indicator light, and we have our two-speed or power shift gear selector indicating whether we're in high or low range. In our center window, the top screen is showing our current miles per hour, which since we're parked is 0.0. Our hour meter showing 91.5 hours. There's another screen with a resettable hour meter here, also showing 91.5 hours. That is reset using one of these buttons over here. I won't reset it at this time. The top button, that changes our hours to the number of feet this tractor has traveled, in case you ever need that information. The bottom button, I believe if you hold that one down, is the one that would reset our working hour meter in the lower right hand corner. We have a clock there on the left, which is in military time, showing 1:01 currently. Down below here, where it says ECO, and the 540, that is has to do with our power takeoff. If the power takeoff is engaged, which I will do right now, press and hold. Now we have PTO light came on to the left there, PTO indicator, and it also indicates the current PTO RPMs. Disengage, that goes away. If you change your speed from either economy to standard or 540 to 1000, those indicators will also change. So by looking at your screen, you'll be able to see what speed your PTO is selected for. Down below that is our DEF indicator. So this tractor does use diesel exhaust fluid. And right now we're 1 bar from a full tank. But those bars will go down as the DEF is depleted. We have our fuel gauge here on the left-hand side and an analog engine temperature gauge here on the right-hand side, as well as a speedometer showing miles per hour. So Deutz has chosen to color code all of their levers. You can see a variety of levers here. Orange has to do with engine or transmission. Blue is hydraulics. Green is 3-point lift. Yellow is power takeoff. So keep that in mind as we move around the cabin and look at what each lever does. We'll start back here at the front. So we have our power shuttle lever here, which is currently in neutral. You do have to draw the lever back towards the steering wheel just slightly, and you're able to then move that reverse or neutral again and forward. Next to our resettable hour meter, you can see we're currently in neutral. Then indicates forward, neutral again, indicates reverse. Since we are not in gear, it's going to error out and tell us to put it back in neutral. If the transmission gear selector was in gear, it would basically just allow us to proceed. If we let off the clutch, it would engage and we would start proceeding in whichever direction was selected. Or if the clutch was out, we would automatically start proceeding in that direction. Also orange, and on our dash here we have stop and go. When this button is pressed, you will see an indicator indicating stop and go on the dashboard. When that is activated, the tractor will stop its motion when the brake pedals are depressed. So we're driving along doing loader work or baling hay. I feel like it's probably the most common application for this. We're baling hay. We're driving along, we step down on the brake pedals. You have to step firmly like you would be applying the brakes, but it will also disengage the clutch. So the tractor will come to a stop, and you're holding your brake pedals, so it'll hold the tractor in position. Once you release the brake pedals, it will smoothly resume motion. If you're doing loader work, it could be either forward or reverse. Baling, it would most likely be forward, whichever way you have your shuttle selector selected. This tractor, in addition to stop and go, also has what they call double displacement steering. So this indicator, it looks like a steering wheel. When that is pressed, on the left-hand side, we see that same symbol come up. And what that does is it reduces the number of turns from stop to stop that you have to make with your steering wheel, which is really handy for loader work when you're not wanting to spin your steering wheel around a lot. So there we are, all the way at the left stop right there, and right stop. If we disengage that, you'll see how many more turns it will take. It's almost a turn and a half just to get center. Continue turning, and there we are at the left stop. So it's very handy to reduce the number of turns on your wheel. As a safety feature, when you get over a certain miles per hour, I don't recall exactly what it is, but it would be a road speed, 15 miles an hour or something like that, that does disengage. That will keep you from bumping the steering wheel and overcorrecting when you're at a high speed, just as a safety feature. On the right-hand side of the dash, we have this little black button that's all lit up in green. It looks like a person sitting with an arrow and an unlock button. This allows you to get out of the seat while the PTO is in operation. If you were doing some stationary PTO work, such as a grain auger, you would use this feature. You press the button once, it lights up solid green. So now the seat switch is basically disabled, is how that works. You still need the tractor in neutral and the parking brake on, but now when you get out of the seat, the engine will stay running, or the PTO will stay running. As long as we're up here on the steering column, on our left here, we have a turn signal in. So you've got left turn signal, right turn signal, wipers, 2 speeds of the wipers. If you press in on the end, you get wash wipe. Pulling back, you can toggle your high beam. Over here on the right, we have 3 different work lights. There's quite a few work lights on this tractor, and a lot of them are operated independently with different switches. So we've got 3 different switches here. We have a push button for our 4-way flashers. The steering column is able to tilt by this little lever here. Press down and adjust your steering wheel wherever you want. The dash does pivot with the steering wheel. We have our main gear selector. So we have gears 1 through 5. This is our synchronized gear selector. So we can go from gear to gear without grinding gears. There are 3 buttons on the selector. The 2 on the side are for shifting up or down using our power shift. So as we noted on the dash, so we're going to get both in the shot. We are currently on the low range. Press the top and it will select the high range. It is an automatic power shift, so you can do that under load and go from high to low just by a single press. You can also use this button on the front. This acts as a clutch. So instead of using your foot clutch, you can press this button select a gear, release the button, and the clutch will smoothly engage. Similar to this high-low power shift, the loader valve also has two buttons on the side that function the same way. You press the bottom one and it shifts us to low gear, top one and we go to top high gear. So if we're using our joystick on the loader to for loader work, we're able to change those speeds on the fly there as well. As I mentioned, this is the joystick for the front end loader. There are buttons on the front which control our third function, which would be like a grapple or other attachment that you would have, clam or something like that. Moving back, we have our three hydraulic levers. These are color-coded, yellow, red, and green. On the back of the tractor, you'll see corresponding colors to the hydraulic outlets, as well as corresponding symbols, extend or retract, so you know which direction is applying pressure depending on that symbol. So these levers here, they are lockable. This black collar lifts and rotates 90 degrees. And that will actually lock this lever and keep that from moving. You can pull up and engage the lever, or you can leave it locked up and be able to engage it at will. But you are able to lock out your levers that way in case you don't want to accidentally run a hydraulic function. These two rear are just a single, they're a non-detent hydraulic lever. The front one is a non-detent as well, however it does have a float function if you press it all the way forward. So if you have any implements that need a float feature, you would want to use the yellow outlets, and then you would press that lever all the way forward to use that feature. Our PTO function here is this yellow lever. Get an angle here where we can see both. We're pressing just slightly down and ahead, and you'll see the screen lights up with our PTO function. We're just going to draw back, hold it for a second, and it disengages. There is an auto feature here that automatically engages and disengages the 3-point the PTO as the 3-point is raised and lowered. In some instances, you may want to do that with a tiller or a snowblower. I haven't heard of any customers using that feature, but that is what this round auto button is for. Again, we have orange indicating engine or transmission. So we're looking here through. This one has to do with your diesel exhaust fluid. It provides an override. I believe if you run out of fluid and it gives you a warning, you can press that. It is a limited number of times that you're able to press that. So I suggest going and getting a refill as soon as possible and proceeding that way. We have our engine throttle here, which is just a simple potentiometer switch. We have engine presets. We have a preset 1 and a preset 2. When these are engaged, you'll see a similar symbol engage on the dash, and you can see our engine jumped up to whatever that preset engine RPMs were. We press that again, and it'll return to wherever the hand throttle is set. In order to set that preset, you would use your hand throttle, set your RPMs to wherever you want them. Let's just run it up to 900 RPMs. We're going to press and hold, and there you heard just a little waver of the engine. The light came on, and that new setting for engine preset 1 is 900 RPMs. Here we are again, off. There we go. All right, those are the engine presets. You can have 2 presets, 1 and 2. Right behind that, we have our differential lock. By pressing that, you will see light will come on the dash for the differential. Toggles on and off. You're going to toggle that on and off with this push button. Behind that, we have our 4-wheel drive button. Now, I believe because we have our parking brake engaged, that light is on. We're going to disengage. Yep, so now that our parking brake is off, The four-wheel drive is also disengaged, so that will automatically engage when you depress your brakes. That's both brake pedals. If you just use one, it won't do that. Or if you have the parking brake engaged. When you release, you go back to two-wheel drive. In order to select four-wheel drive all the time, we're going to press our four-wheel drive button, and that is going to toggle our four-wheel drive on and off. We're going to reapply the brake since we're sitting here in the shop, and we're going to go back to the side panel. Next, we have our three-point hitch. Now, European safety standards are such that in order to use any feature like the hydraulic system, and that's why we have these little lockouts, because this is mechanical, but because our three-point is electronic, we have this little green stop button here. So you can see our red lock button is, or lock light is lit solid. We're going to press and hold this stop button. I think it's about 3 seconds. We hear an indicator. It says lift on the dash, showing us that lift is engaged. That lock button is now flashing, which means our three-point is unlocked. The other way to unlock this feature would be from the outside. If you forget to unlock it and you're needing to hook up something, you have an up and down button on the side fender. You can press and hold both the up and down buttons simultaneously for that same 3 seconds, and it will unlock your three-point hitch. You can do that from the outside by pressing and holding both the up and the down buttons simultaneously. So, it looks like a lot here, but it's actually fairly simple. Our main knob here is setting how far down our three-point hitch is allowed to travel. So you can set that to your base. Let's say it's 2, or you can have it all the way down to 0. The other side here, the small one, is setting our upper limit. So we can set how far up we want our three-point to travel. So if you're wanting it to go full range, you would set this all the way to the maximum height, and this one to the maximum lower. This one here with the turtle and the rabbit, it should be fairly self-explanatory, but that's the speed. Now these hitches are gravity down, so you're not going to increase that speed, other than it may control just how much oil is allowed to flow through the valve. So rabbit is going to move us the fastest. This here is your draft control. You can set more or less sensitivity, or all the way here, I believe, turns it off. So once that is set, right alongside you have an up and down button, and that is going to go between those two limits. So right now we're set all the way up. Look in the back, so we're already all the way up. If I hit the down button, it's going to allow this to travel all the way down. It should. At least as far as it will freely without any weight on it. And the up button will then bring it back up to the top of its travel. If you're wanting to use the knob like you would a lever on an old style, you can just press the down button, which will indicate it's going down. And now you can use this knob. You've got an up, down, down. You can see the lights changing there as I rotate that knob. And what that's doing is you're just able to move that as you go. This red ring allows a stop where it'll kind of hold and you won't bump it. If you set that stop out of the way, you can easily move this green knob up and down. As you can see, our three-point is going up and down as I rotate that. Hopefully that makes sense. We have one other three-point. This overrides wherever you have your other settings. It's the same, working off the same circuit as your fenders. So you can raise and lower. As soon as you release the button, it will stop at whatever position you had it. You can see out the back window there going up and down as I press that button. So that works the same way as your fenders. So if you're hooking something up and you don't want to get all your other settings mixed up, that's kind of the way they have this here. You're going to be turned a little bit in your seat as you're hooking something up, and you're going to be able to run those buttons. All right, these three buttons here are have to do with the front end loader. The front end loader is pre-wired for extra features. A third function feature where you can select multiple functions on the loader for like a quick hitch or something like that. Your soft drive, which is an accumulator system. These loaders are coming set up with a mechanical setup for these, but they do have the electrical pre-wired in case somebody wanted to add those options. And this here would be a bucket unlock. Again, these loaders are a mechanical unlock, but they're pre-wired for that option if you were to add it at a later point. The only other remaining things on our right here are going to be our high and low range. So this is a big jump in our transmission. Think road speed versus field speeds. You've got your turtle and your rabbit there, which is a simple up. You go sideways and select your next range. I think we're probably between gears here. If you do run into this, put the machine into gear, take your park brake off, engage your drive so that you can be rolling a little bit. Now, because this is in neutral, it's not going to go anywhere. I'm going to slowly release the foot pedal, and as the clutch engages, we spin some gears, and now we're able to engage that. And back to low. All right, that should take care of the right-hand side of our column here. On the left-hand side, as I said earlier, we have our parking brake, and then yellow again for PTO. So we've got 3 different positions for our speed here: 540, a neutral position, and 1000 RPM. You would possibly use that neutral position for hooking up an implement where you would want to free spin your PTO and make hooking up easier. This lever here, we have up is eco, down is normal. We looked at that earlier. So if I press it down to normal, the eco goes away. So now we are in normal, which is going to be a higher engine RPM to reach either your 540 or 1000. So eco allows you to spin your PTO at 540 or 1000 RPM without running the engine at quite as high of RPMs. These engines are designed to provide a lot of torque at lower RPMs, and you may find that you don't need to spin your engine as fast in order to have enough power to run whatever implement you're operating. One thing to keep in mind, your ground speed will also be affected if you're running a lower engine RPM. So if you are trying to find a certain desired ground speed, you can go between eco and normal, and that will give you a little bit more range there if you're spraying or something like that, where you're trying to have a specific ground speed with a specific PTO RPM. But by lowering your RPM, as eco says there, we're going to be more economical. Our engine is spinning slower, so we are going to be using less fuel. All right, looking around the top of the cabin here, we have a blank here. We've got a light for our rear of our tractor cab, I believe. This is a strobe. There's a beacon on the top. That would turn that on, and then this other one would be the front cab lights. We have here our sunshade for the top. We do have a removable shade there with an opening wheel on the top, and our sunshade is just retractable there. There's another one that comes down, and you just press that back up in order to retract that. Working towards the end of the day, that can be pretty nice. We have one wiper switch up here. That is for the rear wipers, as well as our HVAC controls. So we've got our fan blower speed, our air conditioning, engage and disengage. So we've got air conditioning when the snowflake's on, and then our heater control there on the right, warmer or cooler. Our cab light here, we can go on all the time, or if you switch it sideways, that will turn on and off as you open and close the door. I believe that pretty well covers everything inside this cab. If you have any questions about any buttons that I went over or didn't go over well enough, drop me a message, and I will do my best to answer your questions.